Someone looks at you across the table and says something gentle. Maybe it's, "I'm proud of you." Maybe it's just, "You've had a hard week, haven't you?" That's all it takes. And before a single thought even forms, you feel it. The heat rising fast behind your eyes. The throat closing in on itself. That pressure building in your face like a wave you never saw coming. And here's the thing. The first thing you feel isn't even the emotion. It's the panic. Not here. Not now. Not in front of them. And your mouth is already moving. Already reaching for the laugh, the deflection, the, "Ugh, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me." Anything to throw a blanket over the fact that your eyes are filling up over something that shouldn't be a big deal. You blink hard. You look at the ceiling. You take a breath that's supposed to look casual and feels like a lid pressed back down. And either way, whether you make it or not, you walk away tired in a way that doesn't match what just happened. And here's what nobody tells you about that tiredness. It isn't the crying that wears you out. It's the second job, the constant bracing, the scanning of every room for what might set you off, the hiding, the apologizing, the low private shame of being the one who cries too easily. That's the part that drains you, not the tears, the war against them. So I'm gonna make you a promise. By the end of this, you're going to understand why you cry so easily, and why it was never the weakness everyone made it out to be. And you'll walk away knowing what to do with it, so you can stop fighting your own face and start trusting what your tears have been telling you all along. So let's start where it actually breaks, because before any technique, you need the thing underneath corrected. Somewhere early, you learned that tears were a problem. Maybe someone said, "Stop crying." Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe toughen up, or don't be a baby, or just the look on a face that taught you faster than words could. And so you learn to read your own tears as a failure, a glitch, something to fix in yourself. But here's the truth that's going to take the shame off this. Crying easily is not a flaw in your wiring. It's a more sensitive instrument. Think about a smoke detector. There's the kind set low. It only goes off when the room is already thick with smoke. And there's the kind set high. Yes, it screams at the toast. It's louder, but it also catches the real fire before anyone else in the house has even smelled it. That's your nervous system. It registers feelings sooner, faster, more honestly than most people's. So when you tear up, you're not malfunctioning. That's the instrument working exactly as built. People who cry easily usually feel more. They empathize faster. They catch the meaning in a room, the grief under someone's joke, the love under a clumsy sentence, before anybody says it out loud. The same sensitivity that fills your eyes is what makes you the person others fall apart safely in front of. Now, I'm not telling you crying is always deep and beautiful. I'm not telling you to cry about everything forever. Sometimes the tears are just a Tuesday and a tired body. And sometimes they're pointing at something real that needs your attention. The shift I'm asking for isn't love every tear. It's moving from ashamed of my tears to curious about them, which brings me to the one rule everything else hangs on. Your tear is a messenger. It is not the message. The crying isn't what matters. The crying is the knock on the door, and you can spend your whole life fighting the messenger, clamping down, swallowing it, apologizing for it, and never once opened the door to read what it actually came to say. So the question was never, how do I stop crying so easily? The real question is, how do I read what my tears are telling me so I can finally respond to the real thing underneath? Here's how you start. The first thing you do is catch the apology before it leaves your mouth. That reflexive, "Sorry," I don't know what's wrong with me. You say it so fast you don't even hear yourself anymore. But you can't make peace with something you keep apologizing for. Every apology tells your own body the tears were a crime. So catch it, and instead, even in your own head, say, I'm not going to apologize for this. I just feel things close to the surface. That's it. No crime. Just a fact about how you're built. Then, decode the tear. Drop the vague, I'm being dramatic. That's a label, not information. Ask the real question instead. Okay, what are these tears actually about? Because they're always about something. This matters to me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm moved. I'm relieved it's finally over. I'm exhausted. I'm angry. And I never once let myself say it. Naming the why turns a mystery into a message. And a message is something you can actually act on. Next, and this is the one people fight the hardest, let the wave finish. When you feel it rising, every instinct says, clamp down, hold it, strangle it before anyone sees. But fighting the cry is exactly what makes it worse. It lasts longer, hits harder, ambushes you in the car an hour later. A wave you don't fight usually crests and passes in about a minute. So let it move. Breathe. Let it crest. Let it go. The wave doesn't need to be stopped. It needs to finish. Then, when you're ready, tell the people close to you what your tears mean and what they don't. Because the shame lives in the secrecy. Pick one safe person and just say it out loud. I cry easily. It doesn't mean I'm falling apart, and it doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means it matters to me. And watch what happens. The thing you've been hiding turns out to be what finally lets people reach you. And the last move is the one that turns all of it into something real. Turn the signal into one true action. Your tears were pointing at something, a boundary you keep letting people cross, a rest you've been denying yourself, a conversation you keep avoiding. So don't just feel it and move on. Follow where it points. Send the message. Say the no. Take the afternoon. One honest response to the signal does more than 100 more attempts to shut it off. Now, step back, because this is the part that actually changes your life. This was never really about one moment at one dinner table. So ask yourself honestly, how long have you been treating your own sensitivity as a defect to manage? Years? Most of your life? Think about everything you built to stop the tears. The walls, the distance, the flat voice, the I'm fine everyone learned not to question. And here's the cruel part. Those walls don't just block the tears. They block everything. Your depth, your empathy, your aliveness. You numb the whole instrument just to stop it going off. And then wonder why life started feeling like it was happening somewhere behind glass. So here's the standing practice you carry out of here. Stop managing your sensitivity like an enemy. Start trusting it like an instrument, a quiet ongoing relationship with what you feel, instead of a lifelong war against your own face. And understand, this is the doorway, not the destination. It's what lets you feel fully again, connect honestly, actually be inside a room instead of behind glass. But it's also what lets you notice when something's wrong. Because if the tears are constant, if they're heavy, if they're tied to something deeper, burnout, grief, depression, an old wound that never really closed, then listening to them is exactly what tells you it's time to reach for real support, including a professional. That's not the instrument failing. That's you finally reading it well enough to get yourself the help you deserve. Because sensitivity was never weakness. It's the quiet engine behind the most empathetic, the most perceptive, The most deeply human people in any room. Probably the people you love most. Possibly the person someone will one day describe exactly that way. You. Real strength was never a dry face. It was never the person who feels nothing. Real strength is being able to feel something all the way through and stay standing. Picture the old you, hiding in the bathroom to pull yourself back together, apologizing on a loop, exhausted from a war nobody else even knew you were fighting. And now, picture the new one, grounded, moved and not embarrassed to be moved, reading the tears instead of fearing them, feeling things close to the surface and calling that exactly what it is. Not weakness. Honesty. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not too much. You just feel it sooner than most people do. And that was never the problem. In the next video, I'll show you how to tell the difference between tears that just need to move through you and tears that are pointing at something you actually need to act on, because they're not the same, and telling them apart changes everything. So subscribe and hit the bell so it finds you when it's out. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what makes you tear up the fastest? Someone's kindness, a small frustration, the moment it all gets to be too much, or a song or a film that gets you every single time. I read these. Tell me yours.